All right, I had a bunch to say about this Chinese spy balloon, so-called. I was thinking about it because I have another channel called Surviving Montana. I don't know if you've checked it out or not. Probably not. But I don't put tons of work into that channel. I started it years ago because I thought I was going to, I've been doing a lot of homesteading type stuff. And I thought, well, maybe I can monetize this because I'm spending the time anyway. Maybe I can help people and make a couple of bucks in the meantime. And things happen in life that I really didn't have the time and energy I thought I was going to put into that. So there's tons of videos on there, and I think I have almost 1,000 subscribers actually, which I don't even know how that happened. But anyway, you might check that out. But I put a video on there that I just made about this book, Lights Out by Ted Koppel. And if you're watching this channel, so now I'm going to give you, I'm not going to say the things I said in that video. You should go check it out. Mostly, I just don't have time. I didn't get to writing. Excuse me. But I'll say some things I didn't say over there. If you're on this channel, hopefully you've read my blog, upwardthought.blogspot.com. And you know that for years now, years and years, I've been telling you that this country is going to be invaded by Russia and China. And when I first started saying that, everybody thought I was crazy. In fact, a lot of people still think I'm crazy for many reasons, and that's fine. But as I've given you prophecies of things that are going to happen, you'll notice that some of those things have happened. In fact, I'll link this in the description, but I made a video, it was at least 3 years ago now, called When the Fig Leaves Appear, Summer is at Hand. And it was kind of a weird video because I just took a bunch of my prophecies and I shared them. And if you go down that list, so humans are really bad at remembering how things were. They just kind of project how they feel right now onto everything. But if you can suspend that bias for a moment and think about what you thought about 3 to 4 years ago, and then watch that video, you might be a little uncomfortable at just how accurate some of these things turned out to be compared to how crazy they seemed when I said them. But here we have China floating a balloon over the US that I don't think has anything but a weighted payload on it. And I forgot to say this in the other video, but balloons are seen as this low-tech option. They're actually not. They're really good for certain things. And the technology on this one that hit the news yesterday morning is massively advanced from the state of the art just 7 years ago in terms of payload, guidance ability, and altitude. And all three of those things matter in terms of how lethal an EMP could be loaded on one of these, because they're heavy and they have to be detonated really high up to have the greatest impact. And it was slightly above, the ideal detonation height was above the max altitude of these balloons just 10 years ago. But we're in a different world, and obviously somebody's been spending a lot of money on R&D for this. I wonder why, right? So, and then you do also have the anyway, I won't get into that, but check out that video. Check out the other video on the book, and think about these things. They're important. And like I said in the video on my other channel, and I'll say even more strongly here because of the context that we've had this conversation before, it's absolutely time to go to wherever you want to be when the lights go out. Now, I'm not saying like pack up your car and start driving and leave everything behind. I'm not saying that. But I'm telling you, if it's not in your plans, it probably should be, because what's going to happen is that whether it's this or something else, you're going to see the rollout of things where right now, because you didn't do this 3 years ago, it's a lot more expensive to move. You're probably going to have to move to a smaller house for the same amount of money you get for your current house. Or if you're renting, you might have to pay more in rent. But don't compare that to what it used to be. compare it to what it's going to be. Because we are approaching a time where your only option for leaving is going to be to walk out the door with whatever you've got on your back. I'm telling you that's going to happen. And especially if you have kids. Now, you shouldn't do anything based on fear. But you should do things based on reason. And it's reasonable to compare where things are now with where they're going to be. And even if you have to blur out all the specifics of why things are going to be like that or exactly how it's going to be, I'm telling you that we are on an inescapable trajectory to a point where your only option to get out of where you are is going to be to walk out the door and probably run out the door with whatever's on your back. And you're going to have to walk or run or crawl through very, very, very bad conditions to get to wherever it is you're trying to go. Now, there's no security in a place. Security comes from God and God's promises to and through people, but not in a place. All promises about places are actually promises to people and through people. Because a place can't be righteous, only a person can be. And blessings come through living the law and obtaining the law. They don't come through being a place or being in a place, except through the people that obtain the promises. But it's time, and you need to think about this, and it needs to be pretty high in your priority list, because there's only so many balloon floating kind of activities that can happen before the real thing happens. And just like with COVID, it was like a trap got sprung, doors were shut, and they will not open again. So it's not like there's going to be a time when it's as it was in terms of moving. There may be a time where I'm hoping still that there's a time when property in attractive places becomes much less expensive than it is right now. It's absurd. Where I live, for example, there are no houses on the market. One came up on the market. I have an alert set. One came up on the market yesterday, and it's for sale for for more than twice. I'm sorry, for more than twice what it sold for in 2018. And that's untenable. It's completely ridiculous. No one can afford that. And it's like that everywhere. I've checked. So, except there's random places in North Dakota and around there that are dirt cheap, but hopefully you don't have to work for a living, or you can work full remote, because otherwise I don't know what the heck you're going to do for work. But anyway, it's just going to get harder. And so if you're in a position where you can move, you really need to. And if you're not, you should really pray and ask the Lord to help guide your circumstances, which won't just include the way you might interpret that with, like, we don't have enough money, or we don't have this, or we don't have that. It's also going to be, well, do it anyway. So, because it's just going to be worse, right? So it's like cutting off your hand is a lot better than cutting off your arm. And cutting off your arm is a lot better than cutting off your head. And that's the sort of direction we're going in. So, anyway, hope that helps.